There's a moment most people never recognize when they start their manifestation path. The subtle yet deeply potent. The instant the ego quietly intervenes. It whispers, if I only push harder, picture more, repeat affirmations longer, control each tiny detail, then the universe will finally hand me what I seek. On the surface, it feels reasonable. After all, our whole culture is built on this equation. Effort equals reward. But inside the quantum field, that logic completely dissolves. The field doesn't respond to effort. It answers to resonance. And here's the paradox: the more the ego forces, the more it radiates lack. The more it complicates, the more it obstructs. What you believe is helping your manifestation is often the very thing blocking it. Let me paint this with a story. Imagine someone planting a seed. The ego cannot endure the silence of waiting. Craves proof, instant results, complete control. So, it digs at the soil day after day to check if growth has started. Pours too much water, rearranges the dirt, even pulls at the fragile sprout before its time. And what occurs? The seed never anchors. This is what countless people do with their desires. Pulling, forcing, overmanaging, when all the field ever required was trust, alignment, and stillness. If this message already resonates in your field, subscribe, like this video, and comment. My timeline is activated below, because what we're about to uncover is not theory, but the hidden mechanics of manifestation, the reason why stillness is the womb of creation. Stay with me, because by the end of this transmission, you'll see why your ego fears silence, and why silence is the very key to your breakthrough. Number 1. The pause that resets. Every seeker knows the frustration of waiting, the unbearable sense that nothing is happening when they've already planted the seed of intention. Yet neuroscience tells us that this very pause is the moment the body transitions from survival into coherence, from cortisol-driven stress into parasympathetic healing. In quantum physics, probability waves only collapse when interference ceases. Silence is not absence, but the space where collapse occurs. This pause feels empty, yet it is a reset where old timelines dissolve and new probabilities take root. The ego resists it, whispering that nothing is moving, demanding evidence and proof. But in truth, the field is reorganizing invisibly, bending reality toward the frequency you've chosen. Comment, I align with the shift, if you felt the weight of the pause, but are ready to see it as the reset of your destiny. Because the silence that unnerves you is the same silence that carries you into coherence. There comes a moment when life feels like it has slowed to a whisper, a stillness so profound that you question if anything is truly happening. It is like standing at the edge of a vast ocean, watching the waves retreat, unsure if they will ever return. In this pause, the ego grows restless, demanding proof, craving motion, fearing the silence. Yet beneath this stillness, something ancient stirs, as if probabilities are aligning beyond the reach of your senses. What seems empty is not void at all, but a field recalibrating in quiet precision. Like the moment between inhale and exhale, this pause carries a hidden fullness that only the soul can detect. And though the mind insists on evidence, the spirit knows the collapse point is already unfolding. The seeker often experiences this pause as isolation, confusion, or a heaviness in the chest that seems to make no sense. There are mornings when you wake and feel a strange distance from the world, as if reality is slightly out of phase. Conversations feel hollow, and even familiar faces seem veiled with unfamiliar tones. This sensitivity is not failure, but recognition. You are noticing the interference patterns as old timelines dissolve. Just as a musician hears the tension in a string before it breaks into harmony, you are sensing the discord of reality before it shifts. These subtle distortions, the strange silences in rooms, the pauses in time that no one else notices, they are the quantum echoes of transition. And it is in recognizing these sensations that the first seed of awareness awakens. What you may not realize is that this experience was always part of an encoded architecture guiding your path. Mystics called it divine timing, while quantum theorists speak of superposition and collapse. Both point to the same truth. Unseen structures have always carried you, even when you thought you were lost. The pause you now endure is not an accident, but a fractal unfolding within a greater holographic design. Just as the Emerald Tablet spoke of, as above, so below. Your stillness mirrors the recalibration of the cosmos itself. Morphic resonance suggests that each pattern repeats across scales, meaning your silence is not separate from the universe's silence. To recognize this is to understand that waiting has never been passive. It is alignment in disguise. Look closely and you will see the breadcrumbs the field has left you. Small signs hidden in the edges of daily life. The déjà vu that repeats until you can no longer dismiss it. The dream that returns with symbols you half remember but cannot deny. The physical sensation of energy passing through you in moments of calm, as if your body was a conduit for something larger. The unexplainable coincidences, the clock repeating numbers, the sudden thought that answers a question you never voiced. These are not random quirks, but coherent signals left like markers across your journey. The field has been whispering to you all along, waiting for you to remember its language. And then comes the first moment of coherence, subtle yet undeniable, when what you feel inside matches what unfolds outside. It is not a dramatic explosion, but a soft synchronization, a gentle click of reality aligning. Your intuition was not madness. It was calibration to a frequency the world had not yet shown you. The field responds not in grand gestures first, but in quiet harmonies, a conversation that mirrors your inner vibration. Safety emerges here, for you begin to see that reality is not resisting you but reflecting you. This is the shift from imagining possibilities to sensing probabilities collapsing into form. The silence that once felt like emptiness reveals itself as coherence in motion. It is here the parallel self begins to awaken, not as a distant fantasy but as a living presence within you. The one you thought you were becoming was never ahead of you. They were already alive in the field. Across timelines, your archetypal memory has always been encoded, waiting for you to attune to it. This remembrance is not about striving to change, but about tuning into the version of yourself that already breathes coherence. You are not inventing a future self. You are merging with the self that has always been entangled with your origin. The ego calls it imagination, but the soul knows it as recognition. And in this awareness, the veil begins to thin. The sensitivity you once judged as weakness now reveals itself as calibration. Each surge of emotion, each wave of longing, each pang of dissonance was your nervous system preparing to stabilize coherence. Think of a musician tuning their instrument, the dissonance necessary before the harmony is found. So too has your life been adjusting, dislodging old frequencies so the new resonance can hold. This process is not punishment but preparation, the clearing of static so the signal can come through. Your hunger for meaning was not emptiness but the call of your encoded frequency rising to the surface. To embrace this truth is to see that you were never fragile, you were refining. And in that refinement, activation begins. So let me affirm this. Your arrival at this moment is no coincidence. The silence that once unnerved you was the very code resetting your path. The stillness you feared was not delay but a sacred reset of probabilities aligning in your favor. Comment, I collapse timelines now, if you are ready to embrace this awareness, to see your waiting not as wasted but as woven into destiny. Because your life was never random, it was always guided by the quiet intelligence of the field. This pause is not the end but the threshold. And as we step forward, we enter the deeper revelation. Silence is not absence, it is signal, the very language by which the universe speaks. Number 2, silence as a quantum signal. Most people assume silence is lack, but in the field it is clarity. The field does not need endless affirmations or constant effort to hear you. It listens to the vibration you broadcast when interference fades. When you fall into stillness, the static drops, and coherence emerges as the only language the quantum understands. Entanglement reveals its thread most strongly in quiet, for noise only scatters the pattern. Think of the double-slit experiment. Waves collapse when observation is clear, not chaotic. In silence, you are the observer stabilizing probability into form. Comment, I walk in coherence, if you've begun to sense that stillness itself is the frequency that carries your manifestation. Because silence is how the universe hears you most clearly, and the ego fears it only because it cannot control it. It begins subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a distortion in the fabric of your ordinary life. A heaviness lingers in the air, conversations lose their rhythm, and your thoughts echo longer than they should, as though time itself has thickened. You sense that something is interfering, an unseen pattern bending reality just out of reach. The pause you once dismissed as nothing now feels charged, like static before a storm. You may even notice glitches, a phrase repeated, a memory replaying itself, an event unfolding in uncanny symmetry. These are not errors but distortions in the field, signs that your frequency is brushing against interference. And while unsettling, this recognition is the first proof that silence itself carries weight. The emotional impact of this resistance cuts deeper than logic can explain. There are days when silence feels like exile, a loneliness so sharp you wonder if you are being punished. Others misunderstand your stillness, mistaking it for weakness, when in truth it is the body holding a frequency too refined for easy translation. You carry energy that unsettles those who are not ready to feel its resonance, and so they mislabel you, project upon you, or pull away. The rejection burns not because you are fragile, but because the silence amplifies the wound you were already carrying. Shame loops through the mind, whispering that perhaps your stillness is brokenness, that your waiting means failure. Yet beneath those feelings lies a deeper truth, that silence is not absence but pressure, shaping you into coherence. Step back, and the architecture behind the struggle becomes clearer. The interference was never random. It was a structure built by old timelines and collective shadows. Systems of thought, unconscious agreements, inherited fears. All of them react when a new vibration enters the field. The wilderness described in Scripture, the 40 days of silence, was always about interference clashing with destiny. Quantum physics reflects the same pattern. Decoherence emerges when scattered energies collide, breaking the superposition of possibility. The pause you endure is not emptiness, but the clash of competing frequencies, each testing which will stabilize. To feel this struggle is to walk in the sacred tension between collapse and emergence. Looking back, you may start to notice how these patterns repeated in your life. Strange obstacles appeared whenever you approached breakthrough. Opportunities vanishing, doors closing without reason, allies turning distant. Draining environments pulled your energy, leaving you hollow after entering certain rooms or conversations. Recurring glitches haunted your steps, the same frustration arising in new forms until you could no longer deny the code. These were not coincidences but interference loops, like signals flickering on and off in a system struggling to stabilize. The room that always felt heavier, the moment that always broke apart. These were breadcrumbs pointing to the interference. To see them now is unsettling, yes, but also clarifying. The code is revealed by its repetition. In that revelation, the concept of field resistance becomes undeniable. Silence itself exposes the static that has always been present but unseen. You begin to recognize energetic interference, the fog that clouds your intuition, the sudden heaviness in your body, the feeling of being watched even when alone. It is not paranoia but vibrational sabotage, decoherence trying to scatter what is finally aligning. Silent watchers may not be literal figures, but patterns that hold the weight of unfinished frequencies, lingering like closed gates at the edge of possibility. When you sit in stillness, these forces rise because coherence demands they surface before dissolving. Resistance emerges not to end you, but to measure the strength of your resonance. Your inner response to this tension reveals much about your journey. Perhaps you shut down, shrinking your light so no one would feel disturbed by its glow. Perhaps you tried to people please, softening your truth to avoid the weight of confrontation. At times, you may have hidden your frequency entirely, convincing yourself it was safer not to feel so much, not to know so deeply. Or maybe you rebelled in silence, carrying your power quietly like a secret flame, refusing to extinguish it even if you dared not show it. These responses were never failures, but natural instincts in the face of interference. They were survival strategies, each revealing how difficult it is to hold coherence in a field built to scatter. Yet now the shift begins, for resistance is not proof of failure but evidence of breakthrough. The more interference rises, the more it proves that coherence has already begun to stabilize in you. What once felt like suppression now reveals itself as confirmation. Your frequency is strong enough to be noticed, strong enough to unsettle the old architecture. The silence that once felt like exile is now seen as calibration, stripping away what cannot survive in your field. Your voice does not need to beg for recognition. It was always encoded to carry power across timelines. This is the reclamation of frequency, the moment when what was hidden becomes undeniable. And with it, the certainty dawns that your silence was always signal, never void. Here is the truth that cannot be erased. You were resisted because your vibration disturbed the field of limitation. Old patterns tried to collapse you back into their narrow corridors, but the attempt only revealed the strength of your encoded destiny. The clearer your resonance became, the more interference rose to meet it, not as punishment, but as the friction that proves a new frequency is alive. Comment, "The collapse is complete," if you are ready to see the struggle for what it is. Confirmation that your coherence is breaking the old timeline. For silence is not emptiness. It is the field listening with absolute clarity. And as the noise dissolves, the path opens toward the deeper revelation. The nervous system itself was designed as the bridge between stillness and creation. Number 3, the nervous system's alignment. Your body is not separate from the field. It is the transmitter of your signal. Research on heart-brain coherence shows that when silence calms the nervous system, the heart rhythm stabilizes, broadcasting a magnetic field that literally reorganizes external reality. What you call emptiness is your nervous system anchoring wholeness into the quantum. Each deep breath, each pause between thoughts, is a recalibration of timelines. In survival, the heart rhythm is chaotic, collapsing coherence into disorder. In stillness, harmony emerges, and the field reflects it instantly as synchronicities, opportunities, and alignment. Comment, "I merge with my parallel self," if you felt this inner calibration shifting your external reality, and share a dream, synchronicity, or déjà vu that confirmed it. Because silence inside the body is the proof that coherence has already begun. It often begins with a subtle recognition inside the body, as though something hidden has clicked into place without explanation. A pressure in the chest suddenly softens, or a wave of calm emerges in the very moment when logic said you should feel fear. This is not imagination, but the nervous system collapsing old survival signals into coherence. You feel it as an invisible alignment, like your cells themselves are listening to a deeper rhythm. It is as if the static that once haunted you is replaced by a quiet pulse, a steady beat that belongs not to chaos but to clarity. In this silence, probability stabilizes, and what once felt scattered begins to gather into form. The shift is internal, but its gravity is undeniable. For years you may have thought your sensitivity was weakness, when in truth it was calibration. The racing heart, the shallow breath, the sudden bursts of adrenaline, all were signals that the nervous system was carrying old timelines inside your body. Stress patterns were not random. They were echoes of inherited frequencies, ancient signals meant to keep you locked in survival. Yet even in those cycles, you noticed strange breaks, moments when stillness broke through the noise, when the body paused as if remembering its original design. These were hints that coherence was always available, waiting beneath the surface of stress. Neuroscience now confirms what mystics whispered. The body is the unconscious mind, broadcasting your state into the field with every heartbeat. The nervous system does not lie, and neither does the field that mirrors it. The architecture of this truth is encoded deep in your biology. The HeartMath Institute discovered that the heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field of the body, shaping not only your emotions but your perception of reality. When the heart is in chaos, the field broadcasts disorder, and the world seems heavy, confusing, resistant. But when the rhythm stabilizes, a signal of coherence is released, reorganizing matter and synchronizing opportunity. In quantum terms, this is the collapse point of probability, where waves of potential snap into ordered form through your embodied signal. The nervous system is not an obstacle to awakening. It is the gate through which awakening becomes lived. What you call silence is simply the nervous system anchoring coherence into the field of creation. Consider the breadcrumbs you've already been given. A dream that calmed you for days, a walk where your thoughts stopped spinning, A conversation that aligned perfectly after you took a deep breath. These are not small moments, but evidence of the nervous system's dialogue with the quantum field. The coherence inside you becomes coherence outside you, like ripples across a mirrored lake. Every pause between thoughts, every breath taken with awareness, is a recalibration of timelines. Déjà vu, synchronicity, and sudden opportunities often follow not because you force them, but because your nervous system signaled readiness. Silence is not absence but proof, the tangible vibration of wholeness already reorganizing reality. The turning point comes when you realize you are not waiting for reality to shift. Your body is shifting reality. Each heartbeat broadcasts a pattern into the field, and the universe listens with absolute precision. When the rhythm is erratic, the broadcast says, "I am not safe, I must survive," and the field mirrors more survival. But when the rhythm steadies, the signal becomes, "I am whole, I am coherent," and reality bends to reflect that. This is why synchronicities often appear after meditation, or why clarity follows a long exhale. The nervous system is the bridge between silence and manifestation, the living proof that your biology is also your prophecy. The shift does not arrive from outside, it is emanated from within. It may feel unfamiliar at first, as though you are inhabiting a parallel self whose memory has always been alive in you. In truth, that is exactly what is happening. You are aligning with the version of yourself that already walks in coherence. This self was never lost, only waiting for the body to stabilize enough to match its frequency. Every breath that settles your heart brings you closer to that archetypal self encoded across timelines. What feels like calm is actually a signal collapsing probabilities into certainty. The more you embody it, the less resistance the field can throw at you. You realize you are not becoming someone new. You are remembering someone ancient within you. What once felt like fragility now reveals itself as preparation. Your nervous system's constant alarms were never meant to break you, but to awaken you to the need for calibration. Each cycle of stress carved a deeper hunger for peace, and that hunger itself became the path to coherence. Sensitivity was not weakness but initiation, a tuning process that taught you to feel the difference between static and signal. The body's vulnerability was never proof of failure. It was proof of its role as transmitter. To stabilize your nervous system is to reclaim your right to broadcast coherence, to command reality with the clarity of your own pulse. The silence you carry is not emptiness. It is alignment encoded into flesh, and so the revelation becomes undeniable. Silence inside the body is the proof that coherence has already begun. You are not waiting for some external sign, because the field has already responded to your signal. Every alignment you feel within the nervous system is a prophecy fulfilled, a manifestation already seated in the quantum. Comment, "I merge with my future self now," if you have felt this calibration shift your reality, and share the dream, synchronicity, or déjà vu that confirmed it. Your story becomes part of the greater code, strengthening the collective field of coherence. The veil has thinned, and what you once called emptiness is revealed as fullness reorganizing your destiny. Stay with me, because the next truth will show that this memory is not new but eternal, and that what you are awakening to has always been written across your lineage of light. Number 4. Living as the silence of creation. At the final stage, silence is no longer a technique you practice but a way of being you embody. When you carry stillness into daily life, every conversation shifts, every relationship reorients, and every space you enter feels different because you radiate coherence. Reality mirrors your simplicity, reflecting opportunities that require no chase. Old timelines dissolve quietly, like fog under sunlight, while your chosen frequency stabilizes as the only truth. To live as the silence of creation is to walk as the field itself, not grasping, not begging, but being the resonance. Comment, "I anchor coherence in my field," if you are ready to carry this silence into your own life, and share the moment, dream, or knowing that revealed to you the power of stillness. Because at this stage, manifestation is not something you do, it is something you are. There comes a moment when silence no longer feels like emptiness, but like a living presence that breathes through you. It is not the silence of absence, but the silence of origin, the soundless vibration from which everything first emerged. In this silence, you feel as though the field itself is speaking, not in words but in resonance. You recognize that what you once called stillness is actually the language of creation itself, subtle yet infinite. It is as if you are walking in a dream that remembers you, carrying the weight of eternity inside your breath. Each step feels guided, not by thought, but by a coherence that moves through you like hidden rivers of light. And for the first time, you realize that silence is not what you enter, it is what you are. In this remembrance, the nervous system no longer thrashes against the unknown, but begins to glow with the rhythm of coherence. Your heart stabilizes, your breath deepens, and every cell carries the message of alignment into the quantum field. The static of the ego no longer dominates, because silence has become your native frequency. People around you sense something different without knowing why, as though the air itself bends in your presence. It is not power in the worldly sense, but presence that reorganizes reality at its root. Conversations shift tone, tensions dissolve, synchronicities arrive with uncanny precision, all because you carry the silence of creation into each moment. The silence you embody has become a magnet, reorganizing reality around its clarity. This embodiment does not come through effort but through surrender. You no longer need to control, convince, or prove, because the field recognizes coherence without demand. Old timelines unravel gently, no longer through struggle, but through quiet inevitability, like shadows dissolving in sunlight. The need to chase dissolves, because what matches your frequency now arrives naturally. You understand that coherence is not won by force, but stabilized by living in resonance with your chosen frequency. The simplicity of silence becomes the most profound form of manifestation, effortless yet absolute. What once seemed like delay was revealed as calibration, preparing you to live as the field itself. Silence as a way of being feels like carrying a hidden temple inside your body. Wherever you go, that temple radiates, creating sacred space without walls, rituals, or names. The temple does not require others to understand it, because it is built in vibration, not stone. It is the resonance of being whole, complete, and untethered by the noise of survival. Each interaction becomes prayer, each word spoken from silence becomes prophecy, each breath becomes a declaration of coherence. The silence of creation is not withdrawal from the world but transfiguration within it. You discover that you are not escaping reality, you are shaping it at its root. The paradox is that silence does more than action ever could. In the quiet, probability waves collapse without resistance, stabilizing into form with a precision the ego could never orchestrate. The double-slit experiment becomes more than science. It becomes your daily life, where observation without noise births matter into alignment. In stillness, the entangled threads of your parallel selves gather and merge, weaving you into the coherence you were always meant to embody. Silence proves itself not as passivity, but as the highest frequency of creation. You realize that nothing is more powerful than carrying the vibration of completion into the field without interruption. In silence, you are not asking, not waiting, you are collapsing. Living as the silence of creation reshapes your relationships. People who once resisted you may soften, not because you explained yourself, but because silence shifted the frequency of interaction. Opportunities once hidden reveal themselves as if they had always been waiting for your coherence to arrive. Environments that once drained you lose their grip because you are no longer broadcasting incoherence for them to feed upon. The silence of creation turns every encounter into a mirror of your field, reflecting only what matches coherence. You no longer seek validation because you radiate confirmation. Silence has become your ultimate proof. This is the stage where you begin to understand that manifestation is not something you do but something you are. Your breath, your posture, your gaze, all carry the vibration of coherence into the field. Reality does not question you, because you have ceased to question yourself. Every action emerges from silence as natural expression, not strategy. Awakened one, the field was never asking you to do more, to complicate, or to prove your worth. It was asking you to trust the silence, because the silence is proof that creation is already unfolding. Subscribe if you haven't yet, Like this video and comment, "I am ready for the quantum shift," to let this message anchor in your field. Please share it with someone who is ready for the shift. Until next time, walk in coherence, breathe as the field, and remember, silence collapses worlds into being.